The last 2 years, I have been living a lie. And guess what? You have been fooled by it too. Yes, I am an imposter, and I have been for the last 2 years. You see, when the pandemic came about and my business closed temporarily, 2 years of pre-booked income gone, income that I needed as the sole income earner to support my family of 4, I panicked. I quickly tried everything to pivot how I was earning money. And then I found it, something which worked. If I could talk myself into being an imposter every day, doing something I had never done.
It's a bad angle. There's a lot of plants in this angle. It's a bad angle.
Learning more about it every day, then things would be okay. I was learning as I went. I was more successful than I felt I deserved. Over 1 million were watching me every month. News stations started contacting me and interviewing me over video. YouTube ad revenue completely obliterated our credit card debt and provided more than enough to support our family of 4. I spent more time at home with our children, no longer traveling every weekend for my job, and I enjoyed the work I was doing. But I felt like an imposter.
He's an imposter!
Why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we as humans, and specifically small business owners, feel an impending fear of being found out? That we are not experienced enough, that we aren't worthy of success, that our success must be due to luck and not deserved, or that anyone can do it, and surely it was not due to our own hard work. Why can we work so hard at something new every day only to feel like a fraud?
I think you're a fraud.
I am a fraud.
What's called imposter syndrome is something that nearly 70% of all people experience, according to the Journal of Behavioral Science. In addition to getting in the way with growing your business, with trying to reach your goals, and with your overall productivity, studies also show that this can result in a higher level of depression and anxiety. Why can't we accept our successes for what they are? Hard work at something which has resulted in a rightfully earned payoff, whether it be knowledge, advancement, success, money, or happiness. Instead, imposter syndrome works inside us to induce fear, shame, or anxiety, resulting in negative consequences to our forward momentum, success, or happiness. The term imposter phenomenon was introduced in an article published in 1978 entitled The Imposter Phenomenon in High Achieving Women: Dynamics and Therapeutic Intervention by Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes. Clance and Imes define imposter phenomenon as an individual experience of self-perceived intellectual phoniness. And imposter experience may be accompanied by anxiety, stress, rumination, or depression. Dr. Valerie Young, who is an expert on the topic, stated that when you feel like an imposter, you need to find ways to both manage the anxiety of waiting for the other shoe to drop and to also avoid being found out. But the term imposter syndrome is also problematic. Referring to fairly widespread feelings of inadequacy, discomfort, and anxiety as imposter syndrome takes a fairly universal feeling and pathologizes it. This places the burden of managing these issues on the individual themselves and fails to acknowledge that in many cases, issues causing these problems come from an external source: systems, practices, social constructs, and views in need of change which may be beyond the individual's control. For many, what is referred to as imposter syndrome is not simply internal feelings, but rather comes externally in a society that is imposing these messages and inequalities upon groups of people, either labeling them as not belonging, granting them fewer opportunities or grounds for success, based on a lifelong experience of systemic oppression. In 2019, a report from McKinsey & Company found that 45% of women of color have been the only person of their gender in a corporate room, and that number is even higher for women in STEM fields. More than half of women said that they have felt like imposters, compared to only 24% of men. According to a School of CEOs study, only 58 Black women and 71 Latina women are promoted for every 100 men who are promoted to management positions. Kim Vu, who is the global head of diversity, equity, and inclusion at Remilty, stated that historically, I think the way we've collectively viewed imposter syndrome is that there's something wrong with the individual that needs to be fixed, when in fact, it's not the individual, it's the systems in which we operate. She went on to state that when you think about many of the underrepresented and underestimated groups who are operating within systems that weren't really built for us or with us in mind. Whether or not our feelings of inadequacy, unworthiness, doubt, and shame stem from internal or external problems, our bodies may have something in common with how they react to those problems. When our amygdala triggers us into survival mode, we typically respond to whatever is creating the stress for us with survival strategies based on the primal stress responses of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Flight causes us to run away from danger. Fight causes us to face danger head on and battle our way out. Freeze causes us to keep still and wait for the danger to pass. And fawn causes us to make peace, placate, and apologize our way to safety. These often tend to manifest themselves in terms of several different survival strategies that we utilize in order to ward off danger, including procrastination, perfectionism, escapism, catastrophizing, and deflection. But Dr. Young states that there's a cost to your protection. She states that the price could come in the form of stress, getting stuck in a job that you have long outgrown, losing out on promotions, valuable learning experiences, or connections, or even burnout. And in almost all cases, there is a financial loss. Research suggests that the so-called imposter syndrome may get worse as you become more skilled and advanced. The more accomplished you get, the more likely you are to rub shoulders with even more talented people or be underrepresented by others similar to you in your work, leaving you feeling even more inadequate by comparison. Now, while many of these factors are beyond our control, how do we take what we can control and use it to work past these blocks? Number one, recognize that it is not actually a syndrome. It is a normal and frequently experienced part of growth. Number two, if you are experiencing systemic and external causes, understand that this is not related to your own worth. You are not deserving of any of these blocks. Next, separate the feelings from the facts. What you feel inside versus what is actually true and accurate can be two very different things. And it's very important to identify these separate things and work past those feelings, which may not actually be representational of the actual facts. Next, reframe your thoughts and re-script your responses to these feelings. Next, realize what is within and what is outside of your own control. Acknowledge and celebrate your value and what you bring to the table. Next, develop a healthy response to making mistakes and constructive criticism. Now, if I had not pushed past the initial feelings of imposter syndrome that I had earlier on in my channel, I would not have a channel. I would not have been able to support my family during the pandemic. I would not have been able to get us out of debt, and I would not have been able to create and add my own unique contributions to this crazy world. Of all the businesses, creators, artists, professionals, educators, and more who are holding back because of these feelings. These thoughts of imposter syndrome are dangerous. They destroy all the wonderful contributions to society that are yet to be created or shared.
So do not let feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt get in your way. You are deserving of growth, forward momentum, and success. It is okay to not be the most experienced, the most knowledgeable, or the best. You are learning, growing, and adapting every day. It is okay to learn from your failures, and it is okay to take pride in your successes. The world needs you and your unique contributions that are just waiting to be shared once you push past these blocks and put it all out there.